In Los Angeles, one man is running a company on track to sell $1.8 billion this year. He has 2 employees. One of them is his brother. There is no secret army of staff hidden offshore. According to its founder, there is no army at all. Just him, a laptop, and a stack of AI tools that cost about the price of a nice dinner each month. The New York Times called it a glimpse of the future. Then people started digging, and the future started to look a lot more complicated. This is the story of Medvi, and the question no one in Silicon Valley wants to answer out loud. His name is Matthew Gallagher. In 2025, he did something that, on paper, should be impossible. He built a company that booked $401 million in sales in its first full year. No office full of engineers. By his own account, around $20,000 to start. His tool wasn't a factory, it was artificial intelligence. Gallagher used AI to write his code, AI to write the words on his website, AI to generate the images, the videos, and the ads. When customers had questions, AI answered them. The entire machinery of a modern company, engineering, marketing, support, collapsed into one person typing prompts. To understand why that number stopped the tech world cold, you have to understand what a company usually costs. Hundreds of salaries, offices, lawyers, recruiters. Gallagher, by his telling, replaced almost all of it with software. And what was he selling? The hottest product in America, weight loss. Medvi is a telehealth company. It connects people who want GLP-1 drugs, the class of medications behind the global weight loss craze, with prescriptions and shipments. These drugs became a cultural phenomenon almost overnight. Demand exploded faster than supply could keep up, and into that gap rushed a wave of online sellers. Because the drugs were in shortage, US rules allowed specialized pharmacies to make compounded copies, cheaper versions mixed to order. A legal gray zone, booming with demand, and thin on oversight. For a marketer with the right funnel, it was a gold mine. And Gallagher, armed with AI, built that funnel faster than almost anyone alive. The doctors, the pharmacies, the compliance, all outsourced to other firms. Gallagher's job was to build the machine that sold it. And sell it did. $400 million in year 1. On track, he says, for $1.8 billion in the second. The tech world lost its mind. Here was proof of the dream everyone had been promising. The one-person billion-dollar company, a founder plus AI, out-earning corporations with thousands of staff. The New York Times ran the profile in April of 2026, and Medvi became the poster child for the future of work. Overnight, he became a symbol. Podcasts, viral threads, breathless posts. This, they said, was the template for a new kind of company. Lean, automated, unstoppable. But there is a detail the celebration left out. 6 weeks before that glowing profile, the Food and Drug Administration had already sent Medvi a warning letter. A warning letter from the FDA is not a small thing. It is the agency putting a company on notice, on the public record, that it believes the law is being broken. The FDA alleged the company was misbranding its products. Its ads, the agency said, pictured drugs in a way that suggested Medvi itself was the maker, when it wasn't. And the compounded versions it showed, according to the letter, were not FDA approved. That was just the first thread. Once people pulled on it, more came loose. Investigators and journalists allege the before and after weight loss photos on Medvi's site were not real customers at all, but AI-generated deepfakes, the same technology Gallagher used to build the company, allegedly used to fake its results. Think about what that means. The proof that the product worked, the transformations that convinced people to buy, may have been generated by the same tools that generated everything else. Then there were the doctors. Reports allege that more than 800 fake doctor accounts on Facebook were used to push Medvi's ads. a phantom medical staff, for a company that said it had none. On a platform where a friendly doctor's face sells trust, allegedly hundreds of those faces were never real to begin with. And the media coverage, Medvi's site allegedly displayed the logos of outlets like Bloomberg and The Times, implying it had been featured by them. According to critics, the company had not been covered by those outlets. It had only advertised there. The pattern, its accusers argue, is the same trick repeated at every layer. AI used not just to build a business, but to manufacture the appearance of trust it had not earned. The blowback was building before the fame. In September of 2025, the National Consumers League asked the Federal Trade Commission to investigate. The National Consumers League is not a fringe group. It is one of the oldest consumer advocacy organizations in the country. When it asks the FTC to look, regulators tend to listen. Then, in March of 2026, a class action lawsuit landed, filed under California's anti-spam law, on behalf of an estimated 100,000 people. The suit alleges the company blasted unsolicited marketing to enormous numbers of people. If the plaintiffs are right, the same automation that scaled the sales also scaled the spam. Medvi, for its part, has continued to operate. Gallagher brought his brother Elliot on board, employee number 2, to handle communications. The company frames itself as a legitimate business using modern tools, and many of its claims have not been tested in court. But step back, and Medvi stops being a story about one company. It becomes a mirror, because the thing that made Medvi a headline, one person, AI, a billion-dollar run rate, is exactly the thing that made it dangerous. The same tools that let a founder skip hiring an entire company also let him skip every check a company full of humans creates. No compliance team to say no. No engineer to flag the fake photos. No one in the room but the person with everything to gain. Defenders of Medvi make a fair point. Every one of these tools is legal. Founders have always used leverage. AI is simply the newest, sharpest lever. But leverage cuts both ways. The faster one person can build, the faster one person can cut corners, and the fewer people there are to notice. For decades, the checks that protect customers lived inside companies, colleagues who pushed back, departments that said, wait. AI quietly removes the need for those people, and their objections leave with them. And regulators are built for a slower world. By the time a warning letter is written, a one-person company can pivot, rebrand, and relaunch in a single weekend. This is the uncomfortable truth of the AI gold rush. We were promised the one-person billion-dollar company. We got it. What no one asked was what happens when that one person is the only person watching. Medvi may turn out to be a legitimate business caught in a messy scaling phase, or it may turn out to be something else entirely. The courts and the regulators will decide. But either way, it is a preview. Because for every Medvi that makes the news, there are 1,000 founders right now, typing prompts, building empires of one. And the rules meant to catch them were written for a world that no longer exists. But zoom out from the money, and there are real people at the center of this. Patients, injecting real drugs into their bodies, trusting a company they believed was stored by doctors. These are not toys. GLP-1 medications are powerful, and compounded versions can carry real risks if dosing or sourcing goes wrong. The stakes here are measured in health, not just headlines. If the allegations are true, the fake doctors were not just marketing. They were the face patients trusted when deciding to put a drug into their body. We have seen versions of this before. Silicon Valley has a long history of a compelling founder, a magical story, and numbers that only later get questioned. What is new is the scale one person can now reach. Theranos needed hundreds of employees and years to build its myth. Medvi's story was allegedly built by one man in months. That is the part that should give everyone pause. Not that a scandal happened, Scandals always happen, but that the barrier to building one just dropped to almost nothing. When anyone with a laptop can spin up a company that looks like a 100-person operation, trust itself becomes the thing under attack. And who is accountable when it goes wrong? In a normal company, you can point to a board, a department, a chain of command. Here, there is one name on everything, and one name to answer for it. Matthew Gallagher may yet be vindicated. He may be exactly what the headlines first said, a builder who saw the future before everyone else. Or he may be the first famous example of a new kind of risk we have not built any defenses for. Right now, no one can say for sure. And that uncertainty is the whole point. This is artificial empires, the stories behind the money, the power, and the machines. If you want to understand the world the algorithms are building, subscribe, because the next empire might already be running, with a staff of one.